Travis Wayne Goodsell, follow-up to that Percy video I did yesterday. Was that part of my all-nighter? I think it was. Or, yeah. I'd have to check. I did a lot last night, didn't I? Not too many people saw them, as more people were interested in the new stuff I did this morning. A further update. It appears that today, rather than last night, someone, either a tenant, and I don't think it was a tenant, because I don't think anybody hates me this much that lives here. They all know me. They all know I'm a good guy, and that I'm good to them. So I'm thinking it's Percy. But I'm not notified that such was the case. Someone complained today, filed a complaint with my property manager, that on the video that you saw, which I only put in the parts where I made comments to Percy, and where at the end he then asked me a question, of which I informed him that he was under police order not to communicate with me. And so you hear what I say clearly. His words are a little bit soft because he's in the distance, but I got the whole thing recorded, as I indicate with the break. He goes on to lie about the coronavirus. I don't make a comment, I just sit there and record everything he's saying. And so I leave it out because you guys don't need to hear the other tenants in this building and him talking about them. So that was not appropriate for YouTube. But what he and I were, well, what I was asking him to answer, and his little was all that I said. And yet, whoever complained today, of which the property manager gave me a lease violation for racial slurs and religious slurs. You can listen to it yourself again, over and over. You aren't going to hear it from me. It's not in there. I didn't say any such things. My property manager, who I filed a complaint against her for being a white supremacist, using white supremacist speech in her emails to me, of which she was acquitted by her boss. Now I've got further proof of her white supremacy, as she's using the reverse discrimination against me, blaming me for being racist. And she never even bothered to talk to me about, what happened, Travis, what's your side of the story? Nope, whoever came to her was enough for her to say, yep, lease violation. So that's why I'm thinking it's Percy and not another tenant. Because if it was another tenant, isolated, I think she would have wanted to prove that by talking to Percy anyway. And so either way, Percy would have been contacted by her, or Percy contacting her. And so this is what I've had to deal with, because they have such hatred for me. And for what? What did I do? Nothing. I just exist. And they come after me. They want to control my life. I left. I'm no longer a client of the company that Percy works for. But they have such a hatred that they want me controlled because of Bishop Reed Hammond. And why Bishop Reed Hammond? Because of my translation work. Goes all the way back to the video I did on my other channel that the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the LDS Church concerning the fall of Adam. Apparently that caused such a controversy that Bishop Reed Hammond says, "Why do you even bother coming to church?" Excuse me? I'm supporting Joseph Smith. Why are you treating me this way? Because Mormons believe only the president of the church is a translator of ancient records. No one else. Not Egyptologists, not people who decipher Paleo-Hebrew, who was blacklisted by the church in 1998, as you see in the evidence I have in my case against the church. That was from 2008. And so that's why I'm continually posting the evidence, is so that you guys see what's really going on, so that you see the intense hatred towards me, to want to shut me down, silence me, punish me, disappear me, like the church did. This is all a consequence of what the church did to me. Because the church would never be wrong. And so, yeah, this is an all-out assault. And it's because the judge also, Judge First, is refusing to respond to my case. And now the church, they've been served with the complaint now. They've got it. The lawyers are refusing to mail back my copy of the waiver of summons. And you can see their influence. They're stepping it up. They've got their hand, and they're stepping it up. It's not a coincidental timing, guys. Samantha is the one who's to blame for the air unit problem that I have. And the resulting mold rash for the winter rash. I've still got scars that are slowly disappearing now that winter is ending, but it's bad. The right side especially, my right leg. And that's because of the mold allergy that she refused to handle. And everybody's letting everybody get away with it for the abuses done to me. And Percy took advantage of that on Thursday, as he saw an opportunity to possibly get me kicked out to the streets. And if you're not paying attention to Utah news, the 3 shelters just extorted the Utah government for $3.5 million, or they shut them down. They're already filled to capacity because they're 400 beds short of the main one downtown that they shut down, which was already at overfilled to capacity. That's how much Utah hates the homeless. They're trying to make me homeless. Anything they can do. And the property manager is also retaliating because just the other week, well, it's Friday, it may have been earlier in this week even, I had responded to a notification where I filed a complaint with her about one of the other tenants who I believed was the property manager's general indicator. She had sent us notification that she had been receiving complaints of a tenant or tenants doing such and such actions. So I replied and said it's most likely such and such because and then I went on to say that the property manager has failed to evict him, and I went through a whole list of things that she refused to evict him for, as she threatened us on that form, that notification, that we could be in violation of our lease agreement if we were doing those things. And so I got upset with her because she was making a general accusation rather than dealing with the specific complaints. And so here she goes, retaliating because somebody complained and immediately assigns a lease violation. That's a direct retaliation. So I notified her boss again, and I notified Adult Protective Services again to link the two together, because they're out to get me. This is not a a fake news story. This is not a trauma thing that I'm just making up in my head. It's unbelievable. The hatred of Mormons. The hatred. The downright hatred that they would destroy a person's life. And I warned you guys about this, that the Mormons will do this to me now that I've destroyed the church. They have until Monday at midnight on the 30th of March to respond in the courts. And look what's going on now. They shut down the church. They're tucking tail and running. They're not wanting to deal with the case because the evidence in the case is their lawsuit against me back in 2008. They can't deny that. They paid a Jewish psychiatrist, Dr. Cohn, that you see there. She's Jewish. She married a Jew, but she's Jewish. If you do a Google search on her, she's done a lot of work for the Jewish community and what she's been doing and such. And yet she's using a Nazi tactic from World War II used on the Jews against me. And she's getting paid by the church. That's the most shocking of all of this. I mean, it was bad enough that I knew from her last name that she was doing this to me, but to find out that the church was paying her. Not that they filed the lawsuit against me and the Utah Attorney General took on the case for the church, according to the First Amendment rights, which they were supposed to do for me instead because I filed first. That's what they had me arrested for, was my filing, which they called a weapon of mass destruction. But it is so corrupt, so evil that goes on here in Utah. It's scary, literally scary. And yet here I am, standing up all by myself to the biggest threat this world has ever faced. Because I have nothing to lose. I mean, yeah, I have possessions. I've lost possessions multiple times in my life. Not just from when the church had me arrested in 2008. I have no family. I have no friends. I'm all alone. I have nothing to lose. And I grew up sarcastic because I grew up in a rich Mormon family. As I learned contradictions because I'm an intelligent student. And so I recognized all the errors in the church, the confusion in the church, as one Mormon would get up at the pulpit and say one thing, another Mormon would get up in Sunday school class or primary or institute or seminary, wherever, and even conference. And there's so many contradictions going on. It's like, which Mormon doctrine are we supposed to be following? And so I had to do it myself. The mission helped. When they gave us the missionary discussions, it was just simple sentences, and That's what I wanted from the church. And they just weren't doing it for me. But the missionary discussions started me on that path. As I searched the scriptures, to look for the precepts, those simple sentence precepts, and to assemble them all into what the Mormon doctrine is. The Mormon doctrine is pretty cool, but no Mormon knows it. Everybody thinks they know the Mormon doctrine. They all say it in classes and such. You know, we all know. No, we don't. We all contradict each other. And so now Mormons know this, and they're general in their speech now. They don't get specific. You know, that may be done in private, in social gatherings, but you won't hear it at church. And when you do hear it at church, you have the because people know that that person is alone or in a minority, because everybody is in a minority because of so many divisions of belief. So, I mean, I hope I can get to sleep tonight because I'm doing this now. But yeah, I complained against Adult Protective Services with my property manager and with her boss. But her boss protected her before, but I got her now. So, and I informed her boss that I had filed a complaint with Adult Protective Services, as I had filed a complaint against Percy. And so heads need to roll, because this can't be tolerated. I can't be victimized like this. It's a third-degree felony in Utah, thanks to the church having me arrested. So, this is bad. But this is Utah life. Nobody cares about the law unless it's them that are being attacked. And so you think, well, Travis, you need to give life, liberty, and property to others. That's what I'm talking about, guys. We need to do that. And you can't give life, liberty, and property to others when that life, liberty, and property violates another's life, liberty, and property. That's what bullies and abusers don't get. They think that they have the right to bully people. They have the right to be abusive. And anybody who challenges them are denying them of their rights. No. You don't have the right to be a crook, a criminal, a corrupt person, an abuser, a rapist, anything that violates life, liberty, and property. You don't have that right. And Mormons just don't get it. I'm getting wound up. I don't want to stay up again.